Hello, everyone. Oh, I just realized I did not put my links down in the description. Come on. Why is this? I'm live. This is not saying that I'm live. I know that I'm live. Trashman just did a super chat, so I know that he's here. There we go. Hello. Okay, cool. Hello, everyone. I guess I should probably put that in the description. All my linksy. It's been you go on vacation and weird things happen. And by vacation I mean had a speaking engagement anyway, so it's not really even a vacation. Let me grab all those and put them in the description. All my lovely partners and affiliates and all of that fun stuff. While you guys just awkwardly talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Give it a minute for everyone to catch up. We'll go with that. Save. We'll do that. Okay, cool. All right. Now go back to, how do I get back to see it? Just chat, you're good. Just chat for a minute. You're fine. Dee. Come on. My internet is being really slow in here today. There we go. Okay, so now I'll be able to see the chat and we'll be all set. So, hello everyone. Let's see. Actually, I can change. Oh yeah, it should be okay. All right, so let's see. I know that we got Trashman in here. Live from the land of lobster bakes and lunacy, it's the lady who evaded Baker the Faker's border guards to get to the live free or die state, and then just for fun, she ran the gauntlet again to bring us this live stream, and with that, here's Dolly! Yay! Thank you. Oh, and we have another, oh my goodness, thank you, citizen number 0677. Very cool. Sean Rolf says, you went on a working vacation. Hope you enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And I was actually, yes, it was a working vacation. It wasn't a real vacation. And I do apologize. A lot of people, well, first of all, I didn't think that so many people on the channel would be interested in it as they were. I was really surprised. And there was a lot of people asking about it and saying like, oh, you didn't tell us ahead of time. And part of that was on purpose because, I had just been doxxed earlier in the month. And I'm like, I probably should not be advertising that I'm going to be out of state for 4 days and leaving my house empty, number one. And I probably should not be advertising to the doxers where I'm actually going to be for those 4 days as well. And there was like a whole issue with it. But first, I'm going to go through and I'm going to say hello to all the lovely folks that are here, and then we'll get into it. So Andy Robichaud is here. Hi, Andy. And he was at PorcFest as well. So we got to meet in person, and it was cool. H. Reardon was here. Troll with a Purpose. Jesse Meek. John Morgan. The Essential Freedom. Iron Daisies. Gary Hendricks. Squid Monkey. I always want to say this is Jose, but it's Josue Vigila. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Cap'n Mac 82. Stephen Mitchell is here. Mike Sharp. Warhorse is in. Warren Harrison. Ray Snow. Matt McGee is in. David Neal. The Fizz to a Metalhead. Fish and Golf and Guns, Tara Smith. Oh, we have a lady here. Ginger Monkey Bear, Rose Blight is in. Daryl Rossetti, Garrel Battaglia. Whole bunch of folks are in. Rob Allen, Jim Arnold. Oh, we have people from Facebook in. And yes, this is the first live stream back up on Facebook since the doxing, because I had to get rid of that temporarily. Aaron Miller, Jonathan Stevie is here. Nate Marks, B. Yes in California. Dave Smith. Mr. Rover Pilot is here. Thank you. Oh, saying so. Show us your shirt. Well, let me fix this. So this is this was a shirt. So, shall not comply. It was sent to me by this company. They actually just were like, "Hey, do you want a free shirt?" And I was like, "Sure." And I know Jared got one as well because I saw him wearing it in one of his videos. Waco the Kid, JJ is in, Pierre is here, and you're not that late, so don't worry. Astro Guy, Robert Chappelle, Christoph, Awkward Chatter, yes, 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 there is. Nutritional Revolution, Crip Crack Attack, Barnaby Sanchez, lots of folks in. Lots of folks in today. So, yes. Oh, I do apologize, like I said, for not alerting people about PorcFest earlier. It wasn't last minute. I was like, they organized it sort of last minute, comparatively speaking. It was only organized like a month before the event or something like that, I think, because they weren't even sure if New Hampshire was going to allow it to happen. And now that it's done and over with, and we didn't need to utilize these tactics, I will tell you about the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Carla who organized it. And she was so nice and she is so fabulous. She's a wonderful human being. And she even came up with this plan that luckily we didn't need to utilize. Well, she was going to give me a letter saying that I was working or something if I had trouble getting over the border. And luckily I didn't. She also, they were tossing around a plan of where if New Hampshire was still not letting out-of-staters onto campgrounds, New Hampshire has a very broad definition of resident, and so they were contemplating just having everyone line up and register to vote in New Hampshire as they went in, which is also brilliant. I love it. So, PorcFest was an amazing, amazing experience. And if you folks can travel or live in the Northeast or anywhere really, and you get a chance next year, I strongly, strongly would recommend it to everyone. So I spoke at PorcFest in 2014, but didn't really hang out for it because I don't know, I was weirded out about meeting new people, and it was only like a year after starting Liberty Doll, and I wasn't like asked specifically by anyone with PorcFest or the Free State Project. The Free State Project is who runs and sponsors PorcFest. It was a friend of mine that was like, "Hey, I'm doing this panel, and like I think that you'd be good on it. Want to come?" And I was like, "Sure." But this time, I was actually asked by the organizer. I have a strong feeling that it was actually Tom Woods that got me the gig. So thank you, Tom Woods. I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. But I was on the main stage. I was on the pavilion. I was basically the opening act for Tom Woods, which is so cool. And I got to meet so many people. So I guess I need to back up a little bit and talk about the Free State Project. So the Free State Project is basically there was this idea like, oh god, like 20 years ago, maybe 17, 20 years ago, something like that, where they said, a bunch of Liberty folks got together and they examined different states to look at like a freedom index to see like how free these states were, and also taking into account their population. And the whole idea was, okay, we pick one of these states and we convince a bunch of like liberty-minded folks to move in, and then that would effectively change the politics of that state and create a free state, or as free of a state as you can get in current circumstances. And because of population levels and current laws, they ended up picking New Hampshire. And the whole goal of the Free State Project is to get 20,000 libertarians or other liberty-minded folks to move to New Hampshire. And that would be enough to tip the scales to make it a more liberty-friendly state in local and state elections. So that is the whole idea of the Free State Project. I actually had signed up to be one of the people that moved, and then I realized I hate winter. So I'm going to the South instead, and I got a lot of crap from that, from people at PorcFest about that. PorcFest is short for Porcupine Freedom Festival, and so their whole theme, because it is sponsored and put on by the Free State Project, is welcome home, and it definitely, it was a very home-like feeling. Um, I am not someone who has ever had the experience of having a place that really felt like home. But this was just so amazing and so welcoming, and just it was so nice to have conversations with people, even if they don't agree with you or didn't agree with your views. Like, there was no like name calling, there was no back and forth, with like a weird exception of like one dude who got really mad because I was talking to the guy that apparently ran the straight pride parade in Boston or something. He was like, "Oh, do you want to speak at this?" And I was like, "No, thanks." And then someone jumped in and was yelling all of these horrible things. And then I fell down a hill, so it's okay. But anyway, so PorcFest, it happens the same week every June. So it's a yearly thing. This was the 17th PorcFest, and it's held in Lancaster, New Hampshire at Rogers Campground. And it's just people, they buy tickets, they show up, they camp out for the week. I had thought that there was only about 400 people that showed up, because they also have like an app that you use so you can see the schedule and meetups, and people can like message back and forth and yada yada yada. But the official numbers have come out, from Carla, and actually it was over 1,000 people showed up at this event in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of COVID-19 84. There were still 1,000 people that believe enough in liberty to show up to this thing, which is amazing to me. And there was no mask mandate. Some people were giving me crap about that when I posted about it on YouTube, but the thing is like, there wasn't a mandate. People were still free to wear masks if they wanted. It's just come down to like, okay, first of all, they posted very plainly all over the website and the emails that they were sending out that there would not be a mask mandate. And so if you were uncomfortable being around unmasked people, or if you were sick, or if you had pre-existing conditions or are immunocompromised, any of that stuff, don't go. They flat out said, you know what, this might not be the year for you if you were concerned about those things. But they did offer, at admission, that if you wanted to make sure that you were social distancing and people kept their distance and wore masks around you, you could get a special social distancing bracelet to show off and be like, hey, yeah, I want to social distance, blah, 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 blah. I actually have it with me. I thought this was the coolest thing. So these were the bracelets to prove that you like had got your ticket. I actually didn't get one of these because there was this debacle with the hotel, but here's the little like proof that you had paid. PorcFest 17, enter at own risk. And then on the inside it says live free and thrive. And I just thought this was the coolest thing. I had my friend give this to me since I didn't get one, but I was like, that is like the perfect little souvenir. Enter at own risk. But anyways, yeah, so there were like 1,000 people camping out, and they were camping out in, there were tents, there were school buses, there were like camo military box trucks, there were RVs, there were food trucks. And then, of course, there's also like a hotel on site, and there's other hotels in the area, and there were people open carrying everywhere. There were flat out #CNN Boogaloo boys in the Hawaiian shirts and like full tactical gear, just walking around with like their ARs and their plates, and it was so cool. It was so cool, and I've never like actually experienced anything like that, and I know it's because I live in Massachusetts, but it was so cool. There was a guy, I don't know if he watches the live streams, but there was a fellow who I judged something called Soapbox Idol, and during it, people get up on this little soapbox and they do, I think it was a 3-minute rant. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 minutes. Andy would know because he was the timekeeper and he did a very good job. Um, but there was even a guy that got up there, and we're not allowed to say the B word anymore, but the luau, so everyone knows, we're now calling it CNN, hashtag CNN, on like a Hawaiian shirt background or pink polos. We might also be doing pink polos. Now I say we like I'm a part of this, and I'm not. It's just I'm spreading what I have seen on social media that we are now calling it CNN, and there are pink polos. But anyways, so there was a guy that got right up on the soapbox and was like talking about it, and when are we gonna do this? And I told him the first rule of the Boogaloo is that you don't talk about the Boogaloo. mm. But he did a demonstration of night vision and infrared sensor equipment, and that is so cool. There was a newbie shoot where they went out to a separate area and they taught first timers about shooting and gun safety and all that stuff. And there was this whole like row of they call it Agora Valley. And not as many people were there this year, obviously, but it's a whole row of like food vendors, and there were people selling pot plants. There were people selling all kinds of hallucinogenic contraband. But there were pot plants, and there was like a barbecue truck, and there was a precious metals dealer. They had souvenirs, all of it, and anything on site you could buy with fiat or with crypto or with precious metals, which was so cool. And it was just some friends of mine were there that I had met online, like through the Liberty Movement years and years ago. So it was nice to see them. And I met so many new amazing people and made new friends. And I got to actually meet Tom Woods in person and hang out with Tom Woods, which was very cool. And I met Jeffrey Tucker. You guys, Jeffrey Tucker, for anyone who knows who he is, came up to me and introduced himself to me and said that he wanted to meet me. And I was just like starstruck. For anyone that doesn't know, Jeffrey Tucker, he is an economist. He's a libertarian. He's an Austrian economist. He writes. He's like one of the personalities, and he is always so dapper with his cute little suits and his bow ties, and it was very charming. And he gave this excellent talk, and he talked all about the origins of the lockdown idea and how, Woodstock happened during a pandemic. He's actually the one that wrote the article that went around and made it to CNN and USA Today and all of these places that ended up spreading that around. So it's that guy. And he talked about all the different like pandemics and viruses, and how viruses have been around forever and how they have been handled in the past, and then how the first time that we've seen these lockdowns and forced quarantines actually mentioned in American history wasn't until 2006, and it was in a paper by Robert and Sarah Glass. And Sarah Glass was a 14-year-old girl, and Robert was a computer modeler. He had nothing to do with virology or epidemiology, and it was literally that his daughter had a science fair project and decided that 6 feet was a good social distance, and they built their whole plan on this, and it was turned down by doctors and epidemiologists at the time as like pure insanity. There are all these papers and books and things out there refuting this and saying that this is a very bad idea and how you make things worse. And George Bush was like, well, but that they have a PowerPoint is basically what happened, and that was really interesting. And he had some really other good points that like should be obvious, but somehow didn't click, like the fact that the median age of death, which is the age that is most occurring in the death charts, is 80 years old, but the average American lifespan is only 78. So, hypothetically speaking, or not even hypothetically, it, really logistically speaking, the bulk of people who are unfortunately catching COVID and passing away from it are people that are already beyond the typical American life cycle, which was interesting. I was like, oh wow, okay. And of course, the nursing home hotspots and all of that stuff. But is someone signaling 2 minutes? That's funny. But yes, so Bill Anderson, I don't know what the discussion is, but he's saying corporations are a government creation, not a libertarian one. And that is absolutely true, because big corporate monopolies would not be allowed to exist without government regulation. Because there's actually these really great lectures and essays out by a whole bunch of different economists, but one in particular, I really like Murray Rothbard. And he talks about how all the recessions before the Great Depression, the government took a very hands-off approach with the economy. And before that, a lot of the recessions, they weren't that bad. They didn't last that long, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Great Depression was the first one where they really interfered in, and it was just horrible, awful, and was way more prolonged than it needed to be. And it was because the government got in there and got meddling. And without government meddling in things, you wouldn't be able to have these big corporate monopolies, because there would constantly be other people getting into the market and trying to do things better and for cheaper and creating competition. And you just can't get that with the way that the government regulations are. I know there's a lot of super chats coming in. Second rule of the Boogaloo: you don't talk about the Boogaloo. You don't talk about the Boogaloo. Agreed. Let me get in. Oh, this is weird. Okay, well, this is really bizarre. So YouTube, we are obviously on July 3rd, and YouTube is marking all of these super chats as July 1st, which is really strange. But let's see. Let me get some of these super chats. So Jeebus says, better than any mainstream news. Can we defund CNN and give you their fun? I mean, I wouldn't turn that down. I've actually gotten some emails recently of people telling me that I should check out like Blaze TV and get involved with Blaze TV. But like, I don't think you just approach Blaze TV and are like, hey, put me on your network. Like, I'm pretty sure you have to be invited to these things. But I appreciate all the people that are telling me that I should be on like Blaze TV or on Reason or on Fox or whatever. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very kind. Christoph says, we've gone from having a right to run a business or go out to eat and pay taxes with regulation and so on, to having to ask permission to run a business or go out to eat. Absolutely. You guys, oh my God. So I am still doing all of my sessions from home for work. I'm doing all telehealth sessions still. I've been coming to the office a couple of days a week now because my husband said, please, can you go to your office so I can play the drums? So I've been coming here every now and then now, starting this week. But I've had people saying like, okay, well, when are you going to be doing in-person sessions again? And I looked into the guidelines. Speaking of asking permission to run a business, I looked into the guidelines for Massachusetts, and it is just bonkers. It is so bonkers that, quite frankly, I can't completely make heads or tails of it. And I have reached out to other people that are in the field to say, like, hey, how do we fulfill these guidelines? What do these guidelines mean for me as a solo practitioner without employees? And no one can answer me. No one has the answers as to what this all is supposed to look like. But so there's all these different social distancing guidelines. And first, you have to take this government template and you have to write up a COVID control plan and submit it to the government. And this COVID control plan also requires you to attest. So you have to, like on penalty of perjury or whatever, attest to the state government that you are enforcing hand washing of anyone that comes into the building, that you are cleaning the bathrooms at X rate per hour. And you know what? The bathroom cleaning is supposed to be in my lease. I'm not even supposed to be responsible for that in this building, so F that. Attesting to everyone's social distancing, attesting that everyone is wearing masks. I'm not going to do therapy in a mask. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm checking. I got a text about, okay, I'm in a disc golf tournament tomorrow, and I texted my husband before I came on saying, like, hey, sign me up because registration closes at 8:30. You have to have posters and signage and all these things put up everywhere, warning people about social distancing and telling them to wash their hands for 30 seconds. You have to be sanitizing all common surfaces between like everything. So I'd be having to like sanitize my couch every hour, and like the door handles, like for my office and downstairs. And you have to have a COVID compliance officer, whatever that is, whoever that is. I guess it would be me because I'm the only person that works in my business. Because they are still telling people that they want you to do telehealth as much as possible. And I feel like this should be some kind of HIPAA violation, but you have to attest that if you are seeing people in person, it's only because it is medically necessary. And to not see them in person as opposed to telehealth would be harmful not to their health, but to social health, the health of the community, which is a little bizarre. And then you have to take all of this stuff and you have to submit it to the Department of Health, the state DPH, to get permission to have someone come into my office. Absolutely insane. I don't even understand. And the best part is, I've seen there are some therapists I've spoken to who are trying, they bless their hearts, they are trying to go with all of this documentation. The DPH attestation forms that you have to send into DPH, they don't give you the address or the fax number where you're supposed to send it, and you're not allowed, you can't email it. You're supposed to mail it or fax it in, and they don't give you the mailing address or the fax number. Go figure. Like, I mean, I shouldn't even be surprised by that. So much incompetence. I put out a public records request, because I needed to know the date that I took my licensure test so I could get a copy of my scores. And I put that public records request in more than 3 weeks ago and have gotten nothing. Like, our government, our state government is so incompetent. And the Massachusetts state insurances, some of them do cover telehealth services indefinitely. Optum is amazing. Optum around here, they take care of Harvard Pilgrim, Always, United Behavioral Health. Excellent. All you have to do is send them a little form online on their website that's like, hey, yeah, the service I'm using is HIPAA compliant. And they say, great. All of the people we take care of now have 365 telehealth mental health visits per year if they want them. Cool. All of these other insurances are only covering it while Massachusetts is in a state of emergency. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen once they've decided to not cover these, and there are a couple insurances that are already deciding not to cover it. I'm not sure what's supposed to happen when they stop covering it, but Massachusetts has still made it impossible to see people in person in office. You also have to get everyone to sign waiver forms that they're coming in at their own risk and that they understand the risks of coming in. Um, you also have to get everyone to sign a form promising to stay home if they're sick. There's all of these forms and paperwork, and you have to keep track of it and keep hold of it, because if there is a breakout, on the state website, it flat out says if there is another breakout in Massachusetts and you're seeing clients in person and you have attested to following the guidelines and that you are, like, you know, in the state database or whatever, they're going to come and audit you to make sure that all your paperwork is in line, to make sure that you did follow everything and that you didn't somehow cause the outbreak. That is terrifying. That is some straight up like 1984 shit. Ugh. And I know some people are going to complain that I just swore, but I mean, I don't think that there's any other words that properly convey this lunacy. This wasn't even the topic today. And look, I'm just all fired up about it because Christoph had to go and say that we have to ask permission to run our businesses now. But I mean, he's right. That's exactly what it is. You have to ask for permission, and then you have to prove, if it pleases the crown, may I please do my job. And you know, I have at least a dozen people that didn't feel comfortable doing video calls, or didn't have the proper technology, or didn't feel that they had a private enough place to do it. And so they're just flat out going without care right now because I can't legally see them in the office. If I want to dot my I's and cross my T's, I just can't do it. And so, and the funny thing is the state rule says that if someone comes in, or if they want to come in and you're only doing telehealth and they refuse telehealth, the state says you need to refer them to someone else who is also doing telehealth. If they're saying they don't want to do a video call, why then are you supposed to refer them to someone else who is only doing video calls? Makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. All right, I'm gonna get back to these super chats because I went way off the rails there. Mr. Rover Pilot, again, thank you for the sticker. Brother Brovet says, move to Michigan, Liberty Doll. Wolverines, I am escaping winter. If I move, it is to escape winter. It is not to go where there is worse winter. Sean Marolf asks if I am on Parler. I am on Parler. I don't understand how to use it, so I don't really use it. Fun fact, one of the other judges of Soapbox Idol with me at PorcFest, I was smack in the middle. I was between Tom Woods and I keep wanting to call him Andy, but it's Jeremy Kaufman, who is the CEO of Library, and he has agreed to be on the show at some point. And Library is a newer social media platform, censorship free. They host videos and stuff like that. So I am also on Library, and it just sucks everything automatically from YouTube, which is pretty cool. Rose Blight says Communist Party and Black Liberation 1930s, Black Panthers and Black Power 1960s, and now we have BLM teaming up with Antifa. Same story, different day. Marxism and communism trying to take over the country. Yeah, so I apparently missed a lot in the week that I was preparing for PorcFest, and then the week after, this past week, I did not check a lot of the news because it was just like, man, it was a lot of like decompressing because June was a wild month between like the doxing and the threats that I was getting and the creepy emails about people watching me and knowing where my office was and threatening my business and then rushing to try and get my PorcFest speech done and then actually getting up there. And even getting up there was crazy. It was a comedy of errors. I didn't even get up there until like midnight on Friday, practically. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take the week to just chill and decompress. And in that time, I missed a lot. We'll talk about it shortly, but I the Chaz is disbanded, is not disbanded. There seems to be differing accounts. Like the governor filed an executive order to get rid of the chat slash or Chaz slash Chop, but there's still people there, and there are cars running, like driving around with their license plates covered, and people in there with like guns and armor, and they are like replenishing these little like Antifa cells in Seattle, and then there's stuff going on in Portland, and now there's apparently an autonomous zone outside of a city hall in New York City. I don't know, man. We'll get to that in a few minutes. And Joey Jojo says, I hope you have a good July 4th. God bless, beautiful, and stay safe out there. We live in dangerous times. Thank you. I will be having fun. I'm in a disc golf tournament. Massachusetts just finally got PDGA sanctioning back for disc golf. So one of my, well, not my home courses, but one of the courses I like to go to, they have like flex start tournaments on holidays, and like in celebration of finally getting the PDGA back, they are having a tournament today, tomorrow, and Sunday. 3 different events. And so I actually played today. I thought I was playing terribly, and I actually shot a personal best, which is pretty exciting. I was the only one in my division, so I won today. There's someone else tomorrow. I really should be better than her. She sucks, but she's got a lot more weight carried around, so she can throw farther because she's probably got, I don't know, at least 50, maybe 100 pounds on me, but she otherwise is terrible and should not be better than me, so I should beat her. But anyways, so we have that going on tomorrow, and then I guess we're going to a bonfire, and then we have the tournament Sunday as well. So I think I'll have a good 4th. Robert Chappelle says, I'd be down for a PorcWest. We do it in Nevada. It'll be way better than Burning Man. So there is actually something that usually goes on. I think it's in Nevada. I think it's in Vegas. What is it called? Freedom Fest. Freedom Fest, I think, is what it's called. And they canceled it. The news just came out this past week. It was supposed to be in 2 weeks that they canceled the event. So all these other events are being canceled, but PorcFest went on. PorcFest with all its amazing craziness and open carrying and militia people, and I mean it was amazing. And even the way that they handled some of the things that went on. So with Soapbox Idol, like anyone can sign up, and it's a free speech zone. So anyone can go up there and talk, and no one wanted to go first. And apparently what happened was this guy showed up and he signed up and volunteered to go first. And then it turned out that he was a white nationalist and apparently had told the organizer what he wanted to talk about on his soapbox, and it was not kosher stuff. But she did a great job, and did what free speech is supposed to be about. She got on the mic ahead of time and she said, look, this is a free speech zone, and that means even speech that we don't necessarily like or agree with or are a hard swallow, weird choice of words, but she said that's what this is about. And just remember, the people that are coming up and talking, these are their own views, and we can have them speak and still disagree with them. And I thought that was really nice the way that she handled it. And the guy got up there, and then he wasn't really even that bad. It was like, oh, okay. He was a little like he looked very angry, which was, I don't know. He had the crazy eyes going. Watch. He like probably watches this show and then is gonna send me hate mail. But and I thought it was just a wonderful display of values and like the discussions that were had, and no one went after people for wearing masks, and no one went after people for not wearing masks, and people were gathering at campsites and selling goods and services and having discussions and giving hugs and handshakes. And I met a dude from Russia. There was this woman who escaped communist China. There, were like Bitcoin aficionados and historians and economists and hippies. And there was this Wiccan girl that said something about asking if the moon was an egg. And there were astronomers that were, setting up telescopes and stuff so people could look at the Milky Way and look at the satellites. And it was just this perfect, like, ideal, like what freedom could be and what it can look like. And it was just such an amazing, beautiful, and heartwarming experience. And I got to meet cool folks. I got to meet Andy. I got to meet some other people that watched the show. I don't remember their names because I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. I met some people that were like running for state Congress, that were libertarians. It was just so cool. But yes, there's all kinds of different events that I didn't even know like existed. I only knew about PorcFest, but there's Freedom Fest in Vegas. There's something called Anarchapulco that happens every year, and that's like down in the Southwest somewhere, I think. There's something called Freedom Forum that happens in February in New Hampshire. In October, the Mises Institute, and I joined the Mises Institute so I could try to like be abridged on some of these things. They're doing this really cool thing. It sounds so cool. They're going to this hotel where the Federal Reserve was first like concocted, the idea for the Federal Reserve. And there's like a historic tour and lesson about how the Federal Reserve was founded and thought up and created and all this. But then they also, there's they have banquets with speakers and economics panels and all of this cool. It sounds really cool and nerdy, and I thought about signing up, but it's the same weekend that United States Disc Golf Championship is happening, and none of the local pro events are allowing spectators, but USDGC might. So we might go to USDGC, and so I'd rather go to that. And it's a lot cheaper. It's like $20 to get the VIP pass for the full weekend to go watch a disc golf tournament, as opposed to like the $600 to go to this thing in Georgia. But it's funny, like all these people were like, oh, so you do public speaking? We didn't know that you do public speaking. It's like, well, no one really asks me. I'm always down to like at least, listen. I won't accept every event. Like there are events that I don't agree with that I'm not going to accept, or just not logistically possible. But like, yeah, if you want me to speak at the thing, ask me to speak at the thing. Anyways, Sean Rolfe says, sounds like what the Democrats do to turn red states blue. Yeah, I mean, sort of, except, it's the whole, like, the meme of, libertarians plotting to get together and take over the world and leave you alone. So it's very different to plot to take over a state to leave everyone in it alone as opposed to take over a state and impose your will on them through the strong arm of the government. Trashman4444 says, fun fact, about 2 blocks from me, a BLM protest is happening. News showed a shot. Counter protesters look like they outnumber the protesters about 20-1. Wow. Yeah, it was funny. I was just thinking, I was like, wow, like we're not really hearing that much about these protests anymore. But then I saw a terrifying video of people like surrounding a semi truck and trying to break into it. And then I saw this another picture of a bunch of people like blocking a highway and traffic being like backed up for miles and miles and miles. Mr. Rover Pilot, I'm not going to read all of this, and I can tell you why if you contact me. But he says, come to Texas, help us get rid of the Beto baby. And then James Alonzo says, greeting from Texas. I know there are more chats coming in. So I do have to make sure that I leave around 8:30 today, guys, so that I can get to D&D. But I will see. So I guess who is really covering the stuff that's happening in the Chop/Chaz a lot is Andy No. I know that there's been a few people that were referencing him and his coverage. So we're going to pull that up. And so with Chop, Chaz, whatever, from what I understand of it is that so what I understand is somewhere in the last week or two, well, there were a lot of shootings that were happening at the Chaz Chop. We're gonna call it Chaz because Chop sounds so stupid. So there were a bunch of shootings that were happening at the Chaz. Turns out there were even more shootings than we realized because if no one was getting shot, they weren't reporting it. But there were all these shootings at the Chaz. You know, there was at least one case that was widely publicized where a 19-year-old died, and the people of Chaz were blaming the paramedics for not coming in and taking this guy to the hospital. But the thing is it was an active, there are protocols around shootings and paramedics going into shooting situations, and in those situations the police have to clear the area first. That's the way that the protocol goes. To ensure the safety of all of the paramedics. Well, the people of Chaz were not letting in the officers to, say that it was a clear space, and so the paramedics wouldn't go in. But then it turned out that like the people had already brought the 2 victims to the hospital by their own cars before the police even showed up. So I don't really understand what they were so upset about. But anyway, so that situation happened, and then there was other people that got shot. And then I guess the big thing that happened a few days ago, I guess, is there were these 2 kids. There was a 16-year-old young black teenager who was driving around, and he had a 14-year-old in the car with him, and they were like doing donuts, and they were doing a joyride around the Chaz area. As far as I know, he was not actually involved with Chaz. And the Chaz police, right, the Chaz security thought that it was an attack, I guess, because this kid was doing donuts and just driving around randomly, and so they shot at the car a lot. One person who was there on the ground was saying that they shot up to 300 rounds. I don't know about that because, I doubt that the people of Chaz have that much ammo. But nonetheless, a bunch of rounds, they shot a bunch of rounds into this car, and it crashed. The kids lost control, they crashed the car, and like there's a live stream video going around, and you can't see it happening, but you can hear in the background someone saying, "Oh, you're still alive? You want to get pistol whipped?" And then, of course, both the 14-year-old and the 16-year-old were shot, and the 16-year-old died. And now, once that happened, now the mayor of Seattle issued an executive order to clear out the Chaz because of all the violence. You know, that was the thing that pushed it over the edge. But the crazy thing is in her executive order, she says it's because of the ongoing violence, but she also blames the fact that they didn't have a permit. That the organization, the organized protest, didn't have a permit. But then she's like, oh, well, you know, government offices were closed, so we couldn't issue a permit. So, like, it's okay. But, like, that was one of the main things was, you know, they didn't have a permit. You know, not all of the destruction to property that was going on, not the fact that there are businesses in Seattle that are now filing a lawsuit and suing because of the damage being done by Antifa and by Chaz. Ridiculous. But so I guess Andy No is one of the people that is covering this a lot. And there are now riots happening in Portland. And so he's got, I guess he is on the ground in, I don't know if he's in Portland. He's on the ground in Portland. And so we're just gonna, I'm gonna share this whole screen because we're just gonna go and we're gonna scroll through it here. And so you can see what things are looking like right now in this area. It's like absolutely nuts. So this is in Portland. There was an elk statue. There was a statue of an elk that was 120 years old. I'm not really sure why they attacked it, but this is what's left of it. I mean, it just looks gross. I mean, geez, like total destruction. I mean, all the damage, like, I don't even know how they'll be able to clean that up. I mean, that's just nuts. I heard, I haven't gotten a chance to look into it, but I heard something about like Trump is putting together like a commission of like National Guardsmen or something, or the army to guard statues and monuments tomorrow. But I mean, look at this one. So this is, and I didn't even realize that it's been 30 days, but it has been 30 days of rioting and Antifa being in Portland. So last night they targeted the federal courthouse, smashing windows and setting it on fire. The area is trashed with debris from glass bottles and fireworks used as weapons against the police. I mean, gee whiz. I mean, it's crazy. And there are medics and people on the ground that are talking about Portland and Seattle and saying that it's like a war zone. I mean, and it certainly looks like one. Like, I mean, this is just crazy. You know, like the horrible thing is like the tax dollars that are going to have to go towards cleaning this. Oh, fuck the Fed. I like that one. Okay. That one I can agree with. But I mean the rest of this. And how did they even like way up here? Like how did they get these way up there? Like how did they get the graffiti that high? I mean, are they like running around with ladders? Okay, and so that's the statue. God. Absolutely crazy the devastation that is happening. So this was apparently a video of the military protecting a statue. I'm not sure if it's actually the military, well, the army, or if it's the National Guard. But this was a video that came out. And this, I believe, was last night. Sorry, I'm laughing at a comment in the comments, not at the video. Oh, God. Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, so apparently they were chanting, "You will die," at these people. So I saw someone said there's no height that douchebaggery won't go to. um, and it scrolled through really quick, but I saw someone, oh, one, how do I do this? Says that you're about 2 miles from the elk statue. I mean, God, like if you, I can't even imagine. I mean, I hope that you're safe. I hope that it's not going much past this area, but I mean, I know that the media is still saying that these are peaceful protests, and the media, are saying like, oh, they're denying that any of this is spreading to suburbs. But I was listening to Tim Pool earlier, and he was talking about like, yeah, these protests, like the ones in Chicago, have spread to like 40 miles beyond the city once they closed the bridges, and it's reached suburban areas. And I know that they've reached suburban areas here. It's just let's see. Supposedly there is Antifa recruitment here. 12, you have been warned. And they're looking for drone operators, survival specialists, physical training instructors, and weapons training instructors. And so apparently there's oh, wow, okay, it's time to shoot back. Okay. And there was apparently something going on last night and yesterday where Antifa had explosives, and I don't know if this was just fireworks or Molotov cocktails or what, but they were like battling with the police and throwing bricks and explosives at the police, and there were cars that were circling the area, and this was happening in Seattle and in Portland, and they had the license plates covered up, and there were people in the cars in full armor with guns, and they were resupplying these Antifa cells and bringing them supplies. I mean, this is not just some like disorganized thing anymore. I mean, this is crazy. These are like military tactics, and they're still calling it peaceful. I mean, I don't think that it's, and they were also saying, there was also someone over at CNN was saying like, oh, well, no Antifa has been arrested. If Antifa was that bad, they would have been arrested. And like, here we have people that are being arrested, booking photos here. arrested at the riots. I saw a video of like people throwing fireworks at a sleeping homeless guy. Like, oh, he done just got effed up. That was dumb. He just blew himself up. Jeez. Oh, God. This is apparently what I missed. I went on working vacation for a few days. Here we had U.S. Marshals had to protect the federal courthouse in Portland as Antifa launched a mob attack on the building overnight. They fired mortars at the building, setting the inside on fire. Antifa has maintained more than a month of daily riots in Portland. Oh my God. This is just nuts. When it comes into the question, like, okay, so is this, they're still calling it peaceful protest, but at this point, can you say that it's gone past that and is now the point of like violent insurrection? And I know that when these, the Chaz and Chop, whatever, first started happening, I talked about like, okay, at first they were just sort of like, occupying this area. And while the takeover of an area isn't peaceful, at the time when I mentioned it, they were kind of just occupying the police station. And I was like, well, okay, federal building, blah, blah, blah. And people were saying, oh, send in the National Guard. And it's like, we condemned that sort of response with Waco and Ruby Ridge, and those things were peaceful. This stuff is not peaceful. I mean, they are destroying property, they're setting things on fire, they are attacking people, they're shooting people. There was another video that came up that I saw on social media the other day where a guy just like walked up into a car and started like shooting in the window. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. So, oh God. That's the elk statue, or it was. Let me play that again. Oh, now it won't, of course. Okay. I see how it is. Comcast internet. I see how it is. Actually, a lot of times I was trying to watch these and it wouldn't play the media, which is interesting. So Portland police released a statement that read an open pocket knife was thrown at an officer. Coming within inches from striking them, demonstrators continued to throw large rocks and full cans, as well as shot off commercial-grade fireworks towards officers. And so those are some of the pictures of that. That's the dude blowing himself up. So here's another one. Jeez. Damn. I'm sorry, the guy using his skateboard as a shield. I don't know if this guy here is just like, I don't know. I didn't catch if he was like causing trouble and now it's like, wait, no, let me film this in case I'm oppressed. Or if he's just like a citizen journalist. If he's just a citizen journalist, like, props to him. But this guy with this skateboard shield, I mean, I guess use what you can, but damn, that is funny. So there was a monument honoring Oregon Trail pioneers, and they set it on fire. Gee whiz. And then these are, oh, I saw some of these. These were some of the pictures of what this area looks like now. The courthouse. I mean, this place is just destroyed. Destroyed. Absolutely nuts. I'm going to go in. I see that you guys are talking about all of this stuff. So I want to make sure I'm getting what you guys are saying. I'm actually going to pop over to the other window here so I can see it better. So I know I want to make sure I get all these super chats too. Jesse Meek. I can't read all of this on air either. But we can chat. But thank you. Thank you for the scratch to help. It really sucks that I can't talk about it publicly anymore, but I can't even explain why, but that's okay. I will be able to eventually. Let's see. So Lord Crimson Eye says weird timing. Seattle mayor put out CHOP disband order day after Chazistani's marched to and protested at her house and went into City Hall after hours. Yes, that was one of the other things. But the thing is for that, she's not even condemning Antifa or the people of Chaz for that. She is going after a city council member who was supposedly leading some of these protests and led the protesters to her house. So instead of condemning Antifa, she's calling for this city council member to be stripped of her position. Pickle Jars for Hillary says, forget pepper spray, use napalm. And Vincent Tatro is here for his first live stream. Hello, Vincent. Let's see. Jesse Meek says that all looks like a slum in any third world country. Not enough bullet holes, shelled building, and cars and bodies to be any of the war zones I've been in, but we are getting there rapidly. And it begs the question, like, okay, is this, if this spreads, is this going to be, there are so many people, there are more than a third of the US citizens that now believe that civil war is coming. And so we always assume, or I always assumed, that if it was civil war, it would end up being the right versus the government, or gun owners versus the government, or whatever. But I mean, it looked like, is it going to be Antifa? Like, is that what the Civil War is going to look like? Is these Antifa folks? And I mean, people are like, oh yeah, they've just got their little fireworks and blah 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 blah. But I mean, the John Brown Gun Club is an Antifa organization. They're arming themselves with guns and armor and all of this stuff. But I mean, they have like this much more powerful weapon, and that is fear, right? They are attacking anyone who does not bend the knee to their ideology. And as a result, you have companies, you have businesses, you have everyday citizens that are like bowing down to this out of fear because they don't want to lose their livelihoods, their homes, their whatever else. So I mean, really, I mean, that is what terrorists do. I mean, they're certainly using some terrorist tactics. The very definition of terrorism is, using fear to achieve political or ideological gains. And by that definition, the US government is one of the biggest terrorist organizations in the world. But nonetheless, I mean, Antifa are applying these same tactics. And I mean, for as disorganized as they are, and as much as they are like hipsters living in basements and social justice keyboard warriors, I mean, they're getting somewhere. Certainly the media is on their side. So people were saying that the lasers were to try to blind the officers. Sean Marolf says so-called protesters put vans and slashed the tires across the access road to Mount Rushmore to keep people out from the 4th of July celebration. Fireworks scheduled for tonight. Interesting. I'm surprised that they're even still having fireworks. All that stuff around here was canceled, but I mean, basically all of Massachusetts is canceled. David Neal says to put paint that high, you put a small person on a tall person. I guess that makes sense. Munderpool says that all the AR-15s are sold out at the gun shops near them. That was one of the things that I talked about in my PorcFest speech, actually, and I'm debating if I want to make a video on it or not, simply because my speech was 43 minutes long. So it was a long talk, and I don't know if people would really sit and watch a video for that long. I mean, you guys sit and watch this for an hour and a half, those of you that are here, so maybe you would, but record number of gun sales, and the numbers just came in for June. Record number of gun sales in June as well. 3 million. I mean, this does not look like this is going to be letting up. And just through May alone, we had another like 6 million new gun owners. I mean, whew, things are going to be sold out, I think, for a long time. Let's see. Yeah, so how do I do this? Says this is insurrection. So unknown YouTuber says, so I have a question. Isn't the point of the National Guard to protect our citizens here on American soil? Like, that is literally who you call in. Why are people so upset by it? I think it's because, I mean, I don't really know I don't know if that's what the National Guard does. I just know that it's the whole point of like calling in a military operation on US soil against Americans is what people are upset about, to my knowledge. General Robert E. Lee says, government, all of it has failed America. I agree, sir. Squid Monkey says they have violated the Geneva Convention specific to lasers. Is that something that's actually in the Geneva Convention? I don't know. Pickle Jars for Hillary says they use the sync logic of the second you use violence, you become part of the alt-right. Easy way for the left to wash their hands. Well, yeah, they attacked that married couple that the protesters like forced their way into a private gated community and broke the gate, and people were all up in arms because the married couple came out and they were defending their property. I mean, people are like, oh, well, they were just going to the mayor's house. But like, if you are in your house and you are seeing this stuff on the media, and then you hear someone break the gate down and break into your community, and you see this mob of people, and you see this stuff happening on social media, you're not going to know that they're just marching to the mayor's house to go yell at the mayor's house. You have no idea what their intentions are. And so those people that came out on their lawn with their pistol and their AR-15, bad trigger discipline aside and bad safety precautions aside, I mean, they were waving the guns all around at each other. Aside from that, I mean, they were fully within their rights to do so. Robert Chappelle says, Darwin will save us from Antifa. I don't know about that. David Neal says, did you see the video of the woman at a protest that tried to spook a police horse and got kicked to the ground? I did not. I did not see that. Someone said they hadn't seen these feeds before, so I'm glad I'm showing you something that you hadn't seen before. I just saw this stuff today. BS in California says private means private. Absolutely. David Neal says people are starting to push back even at the high school level. There was a short fight between a cheerleader and another girl. Should see the takedown by the cheerleader. I did see that. Someone sent that to me and I wasn't really sure why. Like I didn't really understand. They just sent me a video of like two high schoolers fighting and I was like, okay. I didn't get why I was getting that. All right, I want to make sure I was reading regular comments. I want to make sure that I get all the super chats before we wrap up. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. The Ronin Shogun says Kenpai. I don't know what that means. Sean Marolf says the Great Depression was the first opportunity to create government control and overreach. They took it, obviously. Yes. Yes, they took it with a fiery passion. Rod L. Miller says, speaking of corporate monopolies, Nike and FedEx are now trying to force Redskins name by Nike, removing all Redskins material from website, and FedEx bought naming rights for the stadium. Thoughts? So I haven't had a chance to look into this. I just saw a headline today on my news aggregate that said that FedEx was demanding Redskins change their name. And I was like, what does FedEx have to do with this? Who are they to demand anything of a sports team? And now I apparently know. Thank you, American Farmer 27. Rob Allen says it's crazy with the commercials on TV about mental wellness concerns that everyone is supposed to call a number for help but can't see someone face to face. I know. And I mean, telehealth, like it's okay. It's better than nothing. It's certainly not ideal. Because it definitely is, there is like a barrier here, and for some people they're just fine with it, and other people are like, well, this is kind of weird and uncomfortable and not as helpful. And yeah, and plus, like, the technology, there's no really good service out there for doing those calls. Because it has to be, right now they're saying you can use anything, but in the general sense it does have to be HIPAA compliant, and you have to have a BAA with it. And I mean, all the services that you can do that with are not great, and they are dependent on both parties having a really good internet connection. And with so many people working from home, the internet connections aren't great, and the bandwidth and data isn't great. And there are some areas where there was too many people online, and they started actually throttling the bandwidth and throttling data. So I mean, you'll be in the middle of a conversation with someone, and trying to help them with their depression or anxiety, and then the connection drops in the middle of it, or the screen freezes, and then okay, then you have to log off, and then you have to log back in and wait for it to connect to the person again. And sometimes you can't get audio, but you legally have to have a video, so you have to set up the video stream, and then you have to call them on the phone, and it's just like, oh, it's not great. Lens Quest says, just want to support you while YouTube still allows you to exist. Thank you. I know that there were some people that were kicked off recently, and I'm still here, obviously. Tim Allen says, Darren Murphy is curious about what kind of therapist you are working as. Thanks. So I'm a mental health therapist. I'm a psychotherapist. My actual legal title in Massachusetts is licensed mental health counselor. So that is the kind of therapist I am, though I am also a life coach. And life coach doesn't have HIPAA, and it doesn't, it's not bound by some of those things, and it's not bound by state lines. So I can life coach anyone in the entire world. But I can only give therapy to people that are physically in the state of Massachusetts. JP Jinko Mega 2020, it says the Democrat Party is the enemy of the people. There is certainly an argument for that right now, or at least, I mean, the far left, certainly, they're not making a very good case for themselves. Nathan Kino says, just stopping by the stream to support the channel. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Jonathan Stevie says, watch More Deadly Than War by G. Edward Griffin, and the interview with KBG defector Yuri Bezmenov shows exactly what's going on with the Marxists. I'm going to write that down because I love stuff like that. That's like right up my alley. So I will definitely check that out. I love any kind of documentary about like government tyranny or crazy stuff happening in Russia or North Korea or China. I'm fascinated by all of that stuff. Let's see, Jesse Meek, we got you earlier. I guess I got some of these out of order. Lord Crimson Eye says, oh, we got that one too, about the weird timing Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't read your name earlier when I read that. I'm sorry. Um, we got that one, and we got that one. Rob Allen says, I'd love to see the John Brown Gun Club, each and every one of them fall victim to a red flag gun law. Well, I mean, I don't believe in red flag laws, so I can't sanction that. But I mean, certainly from what I've heard, they're I've heard mixed things. I've heard that their training, like, I mean, I guess it's good that they're training, but I've heard that their training isn't really good and that they're pretty sloppy and not very safe. So I don't know. Second Amendment is for everyone, even the people that we don't like. But as a libertarian, you know, don't aggress upon people unless it is self-defense. And so if they aggress on people, well, then it's open season. Jesse Meek says upload 2 versions, the full Monty and a 10 or 15-minute highlight reel. I mean, I can't really put together a highlight reel of a speech because like it's constructed in a certain way and goes in a certain order, like for a reason. Um, but I mean, some of it talked about Virginia and my coverage of Virginia, and you guys know all about that. You were here for that journey. We did that journey together. Um, let's see. That XKGB vid from 81 is fantastic, says Battle Chemist. I haven't seen any of these. So apparently there's all kinds of cool books and things that people are recommending in the comments, and I missed it. Gurr is in the house and says, open season, biatch. Cody Barrier says, sadly, most of the time, peaceful protests don't work. I mean, that is certainly a catch-22, isn't it? So I guess Battle Chemist says that Project Veritas has been getting in on the Antifa training and showing some of that. MC390318 says, if I declare my home a sanctuary area, will you help? I don't even think you can declare your home a sanctuary area, but go for it. Jacob Norman says that he's from Mass and he's looking for someone. I'm in the South Shore area, but I'm not taking new clients right now, unfortunately. But I might be able to help you find someone if you shoot me an email and tell me like what town you live near. I might know someone. I might be able to help you out. Praise the Masculine Flame says that Yuri Bezmenov accurately predicted what is going on now back in the 80s. Well, that's interesting. Warren Harrison says natural law, common law, corporate law, learn them. People saying to reread 1984. I agree. That is very true. And to reread Animal Farm. Oh, Mandy Service. Oh my god. I'm sorry. I just saw the dollar amount. Holy. People are gonna yell at me if I swear again. So thank you. Love you, doll from Attleboro, Massachusetts. Thank you very much, Mandy Service. That is very helpful. Wow. Chester Thomas says, let us all be thankful the Chop Zone has finally been dismantled. But I mean, I don't think there's anything to stop them from moving back in. I'm gonna toss a comment in here, guys. Hold on. Little explanation. David Richardson says, according to the homeowner, you can't get to the mayor's house through their neighborhood. Interesting. I didn't know that. Like I said, this was stuff that was happening like right before or right after PorcFest. I missed a lot. Trashman, oh, and that was David Richardson that said that. Trashman4444 says Geneva Convention is concerned with treatment of POWs and civilians during war. Hague Convention concerns weapons of war. Okay. Andy Robichaud says money's for next year's trip to PorcFest and good luck in your tournament. Thank you. I am already looking forward to PorcFest. I don't know how my husband's gonna feel about it, but I'm like, wow, I'm gonna try to make this like a yearly thing. I'm gonna try. I had such an amazing, beautiful, wonderful experience that I'm going to try to make it there every year, because it's worth it, and you meet so many cool people. And it was really weird. So many people. There were so many people that were like, "Oh my god, I love your show." We're like, "Oh, you're so cool," and it was a weird experience for me because I'm just a human being. But then again, I was like doing that about Tom Woods and Jeffrey Tucker earlier, and they're just human beings, but they are way more famous. I just ramble at you guys on YouTube. I mean, I appreciate it, but it was a surreal experience for me too in that regard. Mm. All right, it's 8:30, so I want to make sure that I get the rest of the super chats. There are some days where I feel like this hour and a half is just not enough. All right, it looks like I did get all of them, so that's cool. Gardner is here. Oh God, my voice. Hi, Gardner. Says, yes, you're still here live. I just got in. Hey, not only did people love your presentation at PorcFest, they had great compliments about your style. I missed you, LD. Yes, that sucks that I think we just barely crossed paths. I think you ended up leaving probably like right before I got there. Okay, someone. Oops. So Jay the Magic Robot sent me a link to Instagram. Thank you. People saying that I'm awesome. Oh yes, Q. So this will be what I depart with today because people are already reminding me of D&D. The best news, and thank you, Q, for bringing this to my attention. Yesterday, I completely was like, "Wah!" So some folks bought the rights to Fallout to make a Fallout TV show through Amazon. It could go one of two ways. It could be totally awful, like Fallout 76, or it could be awesome, like The Boys and Man in the High Castle. So it could go either way. Because I think The Boys, was that an Amazon thing? I think. I know there was something good that Amazon did. So we'll see. That's really exciting. The trailer is literally nothing but the flickering TV screen that says like please stand by, and Q sent that to me and I was just like screaming. I was like, "Oh my god." And I instantly went on Facebook and I like tagged a bunch of my friends in it and I was like, "Oh my god." And we just like yelled for a little while. John Morgan says, night all, don't forget to have a great weekend, masks or not. I know that The Boys is a comic, but I know that there's this, I know it's a comic TV show based on the comic. The TV show was amazing. And so I really liked Man in the High Castle too, so much that I went and bought the book. Yes, it was Amazon. Okay, yeah, people are saying Fallout is awesome except for 76. Yes. And the thing is, I've never actually fully finished a Fallout game because I just get sucked into every side quest. And I'm like, okay, well, let me go do this thing first. And then I find another side quest. Oh, okay, well, let me go do this thing. So I have never actually finished a main quest in Fallout. But Fallout is my favorite video game series aside from Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda will always be number one, but the Fallout franchise is definitely a close second. I wonder if they're going to use one of the Fallout games as the basis. So the little blurb that I read just talked about there being like the nuclear war in 2077 and how it would have like the 40s and 50s like idealized feel like in Fallout. So I think that Fallout 3 captured that really the best, in my opinion. I don't know, actually. It's a tough one. So I don't know. We'll see. Sean Davis says, "Have you ever spent Halloween in Salem, Mass? You are the cutest on YouTube." I haven't spent the actual day of Halloween in Salem, but I've been there like a day or two before or earlier in the week. 3 in New Vegas will forever be the best. I agree. Elder Scrolls was also really good too, like Skyrim. Yeti 13 says, "Playing 76 right now. Anyone know where I can find some Radaway?" If you get lost in Fallout, then you would fall down a deep rabbit hole in World of Warcraft. And that is actually exactly why I have never played World of Warcraft, because I'm pretty sure I know that would happen. Yes, 100%. All right, it's 8:35, so I am going to wrap it up. Gardner says Zelda. Yes. Fallout would make a good movie too. I mean, I know that there are some people that said like, oh, but they could take the far left like Antifa route. Maybe. I don't know, because I mean there was the Enclave, like I never really understood. I didn't get far enough in the main quest or whatever to like really learn the deal with the Enclave, but that could have gone either way. But then in Fallout 4, like the Minutemen, that was pretty dang cool. Colf 2A, oops. Okay, this will be the last one, and then for realsies. Colf 2A wannabe Haunan Muhammad says showrunners for Fallout series are the same ones that do Westworld. Ooh. Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh, and I like this last season of Westworld. I had it felt really convoluted, but I loved the first 2 seasons. So that's good to know. That's really good to know. Oh, also, if you guys have Netflix, check out the new Unsolved Mysteries that came out. I've heard it's not as good as the old ones, and that might be okay because the old ones gave me nightmares for my entire childhood. But I have heard that the director is a libertarian and that people have ran into him in some of our dank meme groups. So check it out. I haven't even finished the first episode yet, but okay. So that is it for today. Thank you, folks, for everyone coming in and listening to me ramble about PorcFest and that tangent I went on about having to ask permission from the crown to see people in my office. And check out the partners in the description and all of that fun stuff. I don't know when the next video is going to be out. I've just been catching up for the last week on all the emails and messages and blah 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 blah. So I'll get to something at some point. Happy 4th of July, etc., etc. Stay safe. Keep the powder dry. I believe it's Jared that says that. Carry your weapon. I don't know. Now I'm just rambling. Yes, B. Griffin, sorry, it's over. Okay. I'm doing a terrible outro today. So everyone, again, thanks for tuning in and helping me to spread the message of liberty with a weird flourish that my friends are going to make fun of me for in just a minute. Bye.